Hello, welcome back to Seconds Out. My name is Ayman here with the Gorilla Joh Ryder. John, you were probably expecting my EastEnders watching silver-haired colleague, but you've got me instead, as he's otherwise occupied. How are you doing?
I know, mate. Luckily, we got half hour before it goes live, so we'll make it in time. Unless you've got a bumper episode planned, then I'll be there in front of the TV for half 7 to catch up on my one true love.
Or who? Danny Flexen?
Oh no! EastEnders, not the flex.
Well, happy belated birthday to you, John, as well. Did you get up to much?
No, not too much. Can't remember what I did. Really, nothing much. Bit of lunch with the family, and yeah, bit of dinner with my mum, my partner, and my kids.
Yeah, I mean, just set the table for me with what you're looking to do as we ramp up to the tail end of the year. You've kind of mentioned names before in the past, but in your own words, what are you looking for the tail end of 2023?
Ultimately, I'd like a big fight. I'd like to go in there against the big name. Golovkin was looking for the opponent. The Mungias, the Plants, the Benavidez of this world. I'd like to continue operating at the level I've been operating at. Other than that, I mean, if I've got to take a keep busy fight, then I will do so. But yeah, I just want to stay active, man. I want to strike while the iron's hot and keep as busy as possible.
Of those names at the top, which one is your preference?
I think we'd all love the Golovkin fight. He's been such a great ambassador for the sport and such a great champion over the years. It'd be a pleasure, first and foremost, to share a room with him. But a fight that I'd 100% go in there wanting to win and come away victorious, whether it be in his backyard or not. But listen, that's all speculation at the moment. But I'd like that fight. But then again, I'd like the Mungia, the Belanga fights. I want the biggest and best fights possible.
You mentioned that you'd be happy to go over to his back garden or do it wherever. Would you rather go over there and fight him in his own back garden?
I really don't care now. I mean, I'd love to fight in the UK. For it feels like I've been on the road for a long time now. Obviously, the Zach Parker fight was in the UK, but it'd be nice to come back to the UK. But listen, I go where the fights are.
Mhm. Yeah, you've made no secret to me before and others that you said you love to grace the ring against Triple G. Does it come with a bit of a caveat in the sense that look, we've all kind of followed his career and you love to test yourself against a great, but he's not quite at the pinnacle of his greatness anymore.
Yeah, but I mean, let's be fair. Neither am I. I think I reached the summit and a downward trajectory pretty quick. Um, Listen, you can't stay there forever, and he's been there for a long time. But I think for me and him personally, we're both coming off a loss to the same man. If he wants to fight again, then I'd happily share the room with him. But if he decides to call it a day, then I'll be the first one to praise him on what a career he's had.
When you've always kind of dreamt of that fight with Golovkin, what type of fight have you dreamt of with him? Is it a type? Have you visualized a type of fight where it's like a Gatti War type of thing, or would you still be doing what you do best in the ring?
I'll still be trying to implement my game plan, do what I do best, hit and not get hit. You can't be giving Golovkin too many chances. I mean, he might be past his best, the speed and the timing might be gone, but believe you and me, he's still going to be able to punch like he has throughout his whole career.
Of those names you mentioned, like for example, Triple G, Plant, and Benavidez, which do you feel presents himself as the toughest test of the three for you?
I think Benavidez is the toughest out there. He is a monster, and he? He's huge. He's massive. I don't think he's got much business being at 168, but he does it. The likes of Plant is a good fight. Mungia, I mean, they're all great fights for me.
Hmm. And in terms of Caleb Plant, as a fighter, look, he obviously took on Benavidez, didn't get the victory there. And again, it's a name you'd mentioned there. Do you feel he might be, of the two fighters between Benavidez and Plant, the easier of the two fights if you did face him?
No, not necessarily. I mean, he's a very slick, awkward fighter. He's shown what he can do against Durrell. Turned that fight on his head and just caused a massive upset as such. So he's obviously got enough in his arsenal to cause massive problems.
There's another name that's been mentioned alongside that, and that's been Billy Joe, who's looking to, get back into the ring too. Is that kind of froze there in terms of those kind of whispers of that fight of you two kind of facing off again?
No, that's always a potential, and obviously, I'd always love to right the wrong of the last fight and get the win. But I mean, I don't know what's happening when he's looking to get back. Listen, perhaps in 2024 it can happen.
Hmm. Uh, do those title aspirations are still burning you, John? Because a lot of people kind of say you're one of those fighters that if you were to retire and have not claimed a world title, like that would be a shame, given the quality and the ability that you've had, and especially because when you fought Callum Smith, a lot of people would have said that you were the winner. But would you rather trade that in for something like the financial security out of boxing in such a fraught game where fighters don't always come out with that financial security?
I think the thing is with these big fights comes the financial security. Obviously, the dream is to still win a world title, but in current times, with the titles being held up, with Canelo still and him now going over to Al Heyman and fighting on that side, it's tough to know when the titles will become available. I've not got too long left in this sport, I don't believe. Another year or so max. But I just want the biggest and best fights to go out with a bang in my career. And if one of them can be for a world title, then that'll be a dream come true.
Mhm. When you say that you've got maybe that length of rope left in your career, do you look at staying or sticking around in the career? Would you like to kind of be done with it after?
Of course, yeah. I mean, listen, I'm 35 now. I like to think I'm a young 35 and I've not got many miles on the clock, so I potentially could go on. But it's one of those things. As long as I'm winning and doing well, then the temptation could be there. But I've always said from early on that 36 would be a good age to turn my back on the sport and retire from fighting. So, I mean, it's not set in stone, but let's see how the next year goes.
But would you stick around as a coach or some that sort of part in the game, an analyst, maybe a pundit? Would you be willing to do those sort of things?
Oh, for sure, yeah. I mean, over the last few years, I've stayed in love with the sport. I love boxing. I love what boxing's done for me, the life boxing has given me. So yeah, I'd love to give back to young fighters, fans, and whatnot, whether it be through the punching side or training fighters myself.
The super middleweight division is certainly flowing right now, and a super middleweight got the conversations flowing over the last weekend. Plant had some action, but not inside the ring. It was outside the ring, launching an attack on, I think it was Jermall Charlo, I believe it was. But either way, one of the Charlo brothers. I wonder what you made of that, a contact between the two.
Well, I suppose it makes for a potential good fight on a card somewhere, a main event card. I mean, Charlo's been out for what now, 2 years nearly. Um, be a great fight for him to come back to, him versus Plant. I'm sure Al Heyman could get that made. He's the powers that be on that side and could get them two to fight each other. And listen, the winner could potentially have another crack at Canelo. So, I mean, could Canelo face a Charlo and a Charlo straight after that? Who knows?
I asked my colleague Danny, and we were kind of racking our brain. I said, "Has anyone ever tried something like that with John? And how do you think he would react to something like that happening?" And I thought, well, the best person to ask is to you. So, has anyone tried those sort of antics with you in the past? And how would you react to something like that happening outside the ring with an active fighter?
Yeah, I mean, not as of yet, but I don't know how I'd react. It's quite a strange one. Depends what kind of mood I was in, I suppose, and depends how abrupt it was. It's all there to be seen.
Mhm. Indeed. Well, you certainly seem like the type of guy who could handle that situation. Now, what of the situation between Canelo and Charlo? Who do you expect to come out on top in that fight?
I favour Canelo to come out victorious, but I don't think it's set in stone. I think Charlo's going to have a lot of advantages in this fight. As a man coming up, he's going to have a lot more freedom throughout camp of making weight. He's going to be able to fuel for each and every session, and I suppose it's probably going to be the camp that he enjoys most, where he's fueled, he's ready to go for everything. He should have a lot of fire in his belly and a lot of fuel in the tank.
And there's another fight that's been whispered is Demetrius Andrade versus Benavidez. If that gets fired, would you favour Benavidez to come through that one as well?
Yeah, definitely. like I say, he's a monster of a man, and I don't see how he makes the 168 limit, but he does, and he comes out and he puts on a performance. So long way to continue for him. But yeah, I'd have to favour him against Andrade for sure.
And you've got a target on your back now that you've been at the top of the sport, taking on Canelo, and seen the younger fighters looking to call you out, the likes of Jago Pacheco and Edgar Berlanga looking to face you off in the ring. Do those sort of fights interest you just as much as the higher names at the sport that you're targeting too?
Listen, I want the bigger names in the sport. I don't want to be used as a stepping stone for anyone to try and progress their career. I still feel like I've got these big nights left in me. So, I mean, like I say, while I'm winning and doing well, I'll continue. Maybe I'll get pitched up against these guys at some point. But yeah, I've still got a lot of fire in my belly and still a lot of aspirations to accomplish in this sport. So, for me to go to fights where I'm looking to be used, I'm not in that mindset as of yet.
John, you mentioned like you saying when we talked about Golovkin, like you kind of said you're kind of coming down the hill and you kind of feel yourself, not being as good as you once were. When you first noticed that, what are the small things that you noticed that aren't as good as they were, if you get what I mean?
Well, no, I wouldn't say I have noticed it. I feel great in camp. I felt great in camp throughout the period for the Canelo fight, and it's hard when you're coming off a loss. You obviously look at the negatives as opposed to the pluses. But no, listen, like I say, I'm a young 35. I keep up with all the young ones in the gym pretty much, and there's a lot of will to learn. I don't feel like I ever lose. I feel like I learn, and I learned a hell of a lot from the Canelo fight, and I look forward to that, to putting that experience into my next camp and using it moving forward.
Just picking that back up there, some technical issues. But yeah, just get your thoughts on a couple of things in the wider sphere, John. There's a big trilogy fight, if you count the amateur fight, but a rematch between Joshua and White next weekend. I wonder what you think of the two fighters coming in and facing each other at this stage in their career.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, it's one apiece so far. So it's all down to the decider now. I'm going to favour AJ off recent form. I think the more time he spent with Derek James now should be more beneficial to him. I just think he's at this stage of his career. He's probably learnt more, and there's more strings to his bow to go in there and perform. But listen, if Dillian can easily make it his own fight and turn it into an absolute war.
And there was an absolutely huge fight last weekend, that being Spence versus Crawford. It was billed as a 50-50, but it completely wasn't when the two faced off in the ring. What was your assessment of Crawford's incredible performance?
I mean, yeah, Crawford was sensational. Didn't put a foot wrong. It was a masterclass to watch. Honestly unbelievable. I couldn't fault him, but made Spence look like a bang average fighter who wasn't a unified champion himself. And I don't know if it was Crawford being that good or if Spence has not lived the life and his injuries from previous accidents have taken their toll.
Mm-hmm. Do you know when you were saying obviously like about your age and you're still feeling fit as ever and such? Crawford's there at 36 and at that stage and still putting those performances in. Does he kind of belie the whole as you get on older you start to lose a little bit of things? Is he kind of bucking that trend, I guess?
Yeah, I think he's there. He's showing that age is just a number. I didn't realise he was that old, to be fair. I thought he was a bit younger, but yeah. I mean, yeah, if he's doing that at 36 and he's still got aspirations to go on and go through the weights even more, I think then why not? I think he's adapted his style well to suit his age. I think he's very economical now. He doesn't waste nothing. He's very patient. He waits for his shots and he times them to perfection. He's not running around the ring like a young fighter. He's very sensible with his ring generalship, and I think that showed on Saturday.
And then the final thing I want to touch on before I bring it back to yourself, Chris Eubank Jr. is now taking on the rematch against Liam Smith. He's drafted in Brian Bomac McIntyre as his new coach, leaving Roy Jones Jr. Do you feel that the trainer of the elite, Terence Crawford, is a good fit for Chris Eubank Jr.?
It's a good fit for Terence Crawford. I don't know if it's going to be a good fit for Chris Eubank Jr. I mean, we're under a month to go now to the fight, and it's just what is he going to learn with the new coach? Is he going to listen to the new coach? What he's implementing? Is he too old, long in the tooth now to take on the advice of these new coaches? I don't really know.
John, I'll leave the final word with you then. We're in the future. It's December. It's Christmas time. We're heading towards the end of the year. You've had your fight. Who have you fought, and what's happened?
I fought Gennadiy Golovkin in Kazakhstan. A nice cold winter's day in December, or evening, sorry. Come away victorious, dethroning an absolute legend. But my career goes on.
John, a real pleasure speaking to you. Thanks for speaking to Seconds Out, and we'll catch up very soon.
Thank you.
Cheers, mate.